If they say, if Allah eternally knew and willed for the slave to do the deed, and Allah created the slave and the deed, if the doing of the slave were subject to destiny, then there is no way for the slave to escape the will of Allah. So he is forced. That's their argument. He's compelled to blaspheme, and he is prevented from belief by a will most decisive and irrevocable. Look how that could really shake someone who's not firm. They say, how would the deed then be attributed to him, to the slave? Yani, how can you say he did it? If Allah created it and there was no way out of it for him, how can you say even that the slave did it? They say, do you not see that the heartbeat and shivering are not counted as deeds of the slave? You don't count his heartbeat as one of his deeds, nor his shivering, because he cannot resist them. So I think their fallacy is clear. And I'll remind you about the precision and honesty and objectivity of the Muslim scholars, the Sunni scholars, in presenting the arguments of their opponents. We say these are two questions. The answer to the first is yes, the slave is subject to destiny in his doings. But this does not negate the slave's power and choice. That was among what was destined. His power and his choice is among the destiny. There is no contradiction. There's no contradiction between there's no contradiction in a created choice being destined. A created choice being destined. That was among what was destined. There is no contradiction. Hence, whatever he selected would be attributed to him. It would be his deed, what he chose. He wasn't forced. So what are we doing here? We're defending ourselves. They're accusing us of saying that the slaves have no will. They're calling us mujbira. The answer to the second is no, our saying does not imply coercion. Because we say that Allah willed for the slave to choose. He willed for the slave to choose. This is what they cannot understand. It's a destined choice. One decides to do the deed or not. So he is not forced. He selects an option. Whoever acts by will and selects and chooses is not forced by definition. One is forced when he has no selection. The truth is that the voluntary deeds are done by the slave's will. I think that's clear, inshallah. Let me know if you have a question. Who creates by will and choice must be knowledgeable of what he creates. Here, everything is in small letters because that's posed for argument's sake. Who creates by will and choice must be knowledgeable of what he creates. Allah said, أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ. Does not who creates know? Or who created? Does not who created know? Or does who created not know? Does who created not know? أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ. Does who created not know? Since all of us know for sure that we are not knowledgeable of our voluntary deeds, this shows and proves that we are not their creators of those deeds. For example, one does not know the details of his footsteps and vocal cords. Everything that Allah knew would happen, Allah willed for it to happen. This is a base of belief. And among the clearest proofs to defeat the Mu'tazila. Because if a Mu'tazili admits that Allah eternally knew everything that would happen, he would discredit himself. Imam Ash-Shafi'i said, if he admits to the knowledge, he is defeated. إِذَا سَلَّمَ الْعِلْمَ خُصِمْ. Abu Hanifa also stated this, but in more detail. He said that our debate with the Mu'tazila is in 2 steps. 1, we ask them, did Allah eternally know what the slave would do before he does it? If he says no, he committed clear blasphemy. If he says yes, so we cornered him there. Then we ask, did Allah will something contrary to what he knew? If he says yes, then he attributed ignorance to Allah. He is saying that Allah is willfully ignorant and thus commits blasphemy, clear blasphemy. If he says no, then he agrees with us. So he's cornered there. That's ilzam, an inescapable argument. This is why the strong scholars did not hesitate to call the Mu'tazila blasphemers. Know that the people of knowledge said that the controlled one is of 2 types, forced and choosing. The forced, the controlled one that's forced, is like a knife or a pen in someone's hand. The controlled one who's choosing is like the writer with a pen in hand. Furthermore, something would only be controlled if it were functional. If a knife were dull, not sharp, it would not be controlled for cutting. And likewise, a pen, if it were not sharpened, it would not be controlled for writing. An animal is controlled by its rider only if functional, including having choice and power. It's controlled. Part of its being controlled involves it having choice and power. The dead or crippled horse is not controlled by a rider. Likewise, the accountable one would only be controlled if he functions. In this case, his functionality is the ability to select a voluntary deed through his own power and choice, so that he can be judged for it. In this case, one's power would be blended with weakness, and his choice would be fused with compulsion. Imam Ibn al-Khatib, may Allah have mercy on him, was truthful when he said, the human, concerning his deeds, is compelled to be in the form of one who has a choice. That is the extent of what human comprehension can reach. So we spoke about that before, Yani. The human being is compelled to choose. That's as far as our minds can go in this subject. Yani, remember that Imam Ali was talking to someone who was asking him about destiny. Imam Ali said, Sirrullahi fala tatakallaf. It is the secret of Allah, do not indulge. But the man insisted. So Imam Ali said, Amma idha abayt, since you refuse, فَإِنَّهُ أَمْرٌ بَيْنَ أَمْرَيْنِ. It is indeed a matter between 2 matters. لَا جَبْرٌ وَلَا تَفْوِيض. It's not compulsion, and it's not free will. That's why he called it Sirrullah. It's the secret of Allah Ta'ala. Because the human being is unable to merge those. What the human is able to do is confirm them both by definitive evidence. And once he confirms them both, he can't fuse them. His mind is unable to fuse them. Meaning what? Meaning the definitive evidence dictates that Allah Ta'ala is the creator of everything with no exception. Every created thing, every event with no exception. Then that includes the deeds of the slaves. So that's his creation. He's the only creator, and whatever he willed to be shall be, and whatever he did not will to be shall not be. It is all under his control completely, and nothing of it is out of his control. On the other hand, we witness that we have a choice, that we move by choosing. So witnessing is definitive evidence. When I move my hand as I want to pick up my pen or put it down, or to move my mouse around, I witness from myself the choice and the ability to do it or not do it. And witnessing is definitive evidence. So we have on one hand definitive evidence that Allah is the creator of everything, of every event with no exception. And we have on the other hand definitive evidence that we're able to choose without being forced. So then how do you put those together? The most that you can do is say we are compelled to choose. So Imam Ali said, Sirrullah, it's the secret of Allah. فَلَا تَتَكَلَّفْ, so don't indulge. And also At-Tahawi called it Sirrullah, the secret of Allah. He said, Qadar, destiny, is the secret of Allah. So here, this scholar, Imam Al-Khatib, Imam Ibn Al-Khatib, he said the extent of what the human mind can reach in this case is that the human is compelled to choose. And you know some other statements of the scholars, that's the extent of what the human's mind can reach. Like what? Like what Imam Al-Rifa'i said, غاية المعرفة بالله الإيقان بوجوده تعالى بلا كيف ولا مكان. The extent that the human can know about Allah, that the creature can know about Allah, is that he exists without a place and without a how. If you can conceive that he exists without a how and without a place, then you have reached the limit. You have gone as far as you can go, as far as your mind can go. And there's another case also here in this realm of the limits of the mind, which is that we say Allah is not his attributes, nor is he other than his attributes. His attributes are not him, and they are not other than him, without me now explaining that. So take those and explore the limits of your mind without committing kufr and without being confused. وَسُبْحَانَ اللَّهِ وَبِحَمْدِهِ.